Welcome back, everybody. Today, we got a good show for you. Bitcoin hit another yearly all-time highs. Again, that is the highest price it's been in over 2 years. And we're going to talk about the one specific reason. There is one reason specifically, other than just the obvious of the Bitcoin spot ETF bidding, which has been absolutely relentless. We're also going to talk about altcoins and how they are going to pump, but specifically which ones we think will pump the hardest here in the next 24 to 48 hours, going into at the latest, earliest next week, and just talk a little bit about the narratives of why I believe those are the next to pump. And guys, the bull market is here. There's no denying it. The momentum is here, and there's overwhelming evidence that suggests we should all be long crypto right now. So if you guys are excited for today's episode, make sure you do me a favor and destroy that like button. If you're finding value in these videos, destroy that like button. If you're happy to be here, if you're making money off of being a subscriber to this channel, destroy that like button. And if you're not a subscriber, go ahead and do that right now, guys, because this channel, my goal here, what I want to do is make sure that every one of the subscribers walks away, not walks away, but in 18 months, your life is significantly better financially than it was before you became a subscriber of this channel. Right? And, I listened to other, not many, but I listened to some other YouTubers as well. And I tend to agree with, I don't know if you guys listen to Ivan on Tech, but there's a lot of confusing information out there that a lot of people that's saying that, things could go lower and we could go shorter. I believe that we have one of the best altcoin channels in the entire space, providing the most alpha for you with the most gains. And our stance has been very, very bullish this entire time. You know that. And without further ado, let me get into this and show you exactly what happened, why we're getting this relentless pump here. So you can see yesterday, there was $340 million again of net inflows from the Bitcoin spot ETFs. Now, this is probably a lot of new capital coming in, but one of the things that I want to show you, and yes, this wasn't as much as the day before, but that's okay. Why? Because of this. So let's listen to Anthony Scaramucci for a second. Talk about something that
people, they can go from a 2% trust into a 21 basis point ETF, and they have to wait, and there's a lot of churn and a lot of volume churn as a result of that. But
let me refresh because I didn't get the beginning of this. So he talks about basically this 30-day rule that people on New York and regulated markets have to deal with. So it's basically 30 days. So there's a lot of people that came in and sold.
But it's worth noting, you have lots of investors that went into the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust at 2%. They bought it at the Bitcoin at 50,000, 60,000, 69,000. And so when the ETF became available and they were able to sell the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust and take a loss for tax purposes, and you guys know this, they have to wait 30 days before they can reload. But it's a great arbitrage for these people. They can go from a 2% trust into a 21 basis point ETF, and they have to wait, and there's a lot of churn and a lot of volume churn as a result of that. But I think generally the notion that this is an asset class that's here to stay, people like Abigail Johnson at Fidelity and Larry Fink are working on it at BlackRock.
So basically, one thing is I just wanted to point out this chart to you guys here on my X. If you guys are not following me over there, at Kyle_Chasse. So there's a 30-day wash trading rule in full effect. And it just so happens when we had this massive day, was it yesterday? No, the day before yesterday, February 12th. It was because that was the 30 days after we saw the first massive outflows. And so, like Anthony said, a lot of Americans were selling their Bitcoin from the GBTC for a loss for tax purposes. They're rich, right? And the rich have tax attorneys that say, if you can do this thing and get out of this very expensive ETF that is Grayscale that's charging you 2% or whatever, sell for a loss, submit that to the IRS, buy back in at Bitcoin at a lower price, and then we'll take the gains and long-term capital gains. And next year you can deal with the taxes, or whenever you decide to exit your ETF investment at that time. And so we're going to see a lot of recycling here as we start. We saw a lot with like 2 weeks of 3 weeks of like 2 weeks, 2.5 solid outflows. And a lot of those were probably doing the same strategy. So why will we be getting continuous bidding? Plus, like I said before, time again on this channel, it just takes time for these sales cycles to happen. A lot of the sales guys can only be one person on the phone with one client, closing a deal, getting a high net worth individual to commit 1 to 5% of the portfolio to Bitcoin. And that's what they're doing all day long. So Bitcoin, feeling pretty good about it, guys. We had, within a daily candle, just open a new daily right here, but on the daily candle, I'm recording a little late because I'm in Saudi Arabia right now, and Alula, amazing. I will share some pictures with you guys. Unbelievable landscape here. But there was a storm earlier and came knocked the internet out and blah, 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 whatever. So, but nice thing is that we, like I said before, we hit all-time high for the year, 52,800, and then got a bit of a pullback all the way down, right? And after I made the video yesterday, I did long Bitcoin because it's just so bullish on it. I am down on my trade now, as you can see out here, 8%. But that's because I've got 10x leverage, right? So it's less than 1% down, and things are looking positive considering the fact that only just a few hours ago, we were sitting here at like 51,400 or whatever, right? And now we're back to 51,965, and momentum is going up. Things are looking positive. I think the Asian market is is awake right now, actually, and starting to put their bids in. The thing is that we are probably going to close above a 52-week high, a 52-week candle here, which would be mega bullish. I just thought that this was pretty. This is what is inevitably happening, guys. I don't know if there's any copyright things, but like, do you guys get the pace of the action? It's the green candle, the God candle, loading. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm expecting to happen, right? And this is why I continue to drill into your heads this idea of a supply shock, because it is such a finite supply, right? And we just need that reassurance from time to time, because you talk to a bunch of different people and the price goes down, and you look at the 1 hour candles or 15-minute candles and get nervous that price is going down. But let's just not forget where we are in the overall scale of things. We're about to talk about that in just a second. But we are in a much, much better market this bull run than we were in 2021. 2021 was led by a bunch of people with leverage. We saw that all unwind with Doquan and FTX and Alameda and everybody else, right, who was just leveraged to the max. And that was just a bunch of inflated cash in the system, which all, boof, vapor, right? Now we have healthy spot buying. And as Fred says, this bull market is driven by rich people who just want to stay rich and who are allocating 1 to 2% of their portfolio. They are cash buyers and don't check the price every day. They're going in BTC because the ETF. But generally speaking, they like the idea of investing in the leader. It's a completely different mindset. I wholeheartedly agree here, and this is what I've been saying for a very long time. Now, this video, if you guys have not seen it, is the reason for that God candle. So Check this out.
I'm anticipating by the time we get to the end of 2025, we're talking 2 years, we're going to see total inflows of more than $150 billion. We're only at 5 right now.
And what is going to propel? That's a big claim. That's a big number. What's going to propel that?
It really isn't all that big when you do the simple arithmetic. Individual investment advisors, independents, those that are operating their own firms, collectively manage around $8 trillion in assets, and 3/4 of them in every industry survey done by DAC FP as well as by Bitwise all show that 3/4 of advisors say that they're going to allocate to these ETFs and that their average allocation is going to be about 2.5% of assets. Do the arithmetic. $8 trillion times 77% times 2.5% is $150 billion worth of flows. And that's just independent advisors. It excludes the wirehouses, it excludes the regional broker-dealers, it excludes the institutional investors. Well, I'm anticipating that.
Insane, right? And then, so British HODL comes over here to say that that's independent advisors, right? And so just to give you the scope of where we are and to remind you that, because I think a lot of people expect the inflows to slow down. I think that it just feels like because we in the echo chamber, us little bubble of crypto, because we've been expecting the ETF or wanting it for so long, and like really expecting it since June, we just kind of assumed that like BlackRock and everybody else and all the independent advisors had already hit up all their high net worth individuals and said, hey guys, as soon as the ETF is ready, do you want to buy that day? And no, that probably didn't. I'm sure some of that happened, right? But it certainly wasn't the vast majority of it, because a lot of them weren't even sure it was going to happen, right? We talked about on this channel before the fact that the independent advisors weren't even sure that the ETF was going to happen at all. And now that it is, they know that they want to allocate 2.5% on average to it, which is a big deal. And so that scenario that was just painted by those guys, right, who are financial advisors, said it would $150 billion coming in. Well, British HODL says a $1 billion Bitcoin is a $21 trillion market cap. Based on the Bank of America bull market multiple, right, that would require a capital injection of just $178 billion, or $353 million a trading session worth of buying for 2 years straight. This is assuming the multiple doesn't climb, which I believe it does, and more people hodl. If you take the last 4 to 5 days of net inflows and account for selling and maybe 30% more than the daily mine supply due to traders and profit takers in normal environments, after all the selling sludge has been eaten up, you're looking at an equilibrium price we're building of 301,709 before the halving. That's within the next 60 days, ladies and gentlemen, to $603,000, 418 after the halving. And I don't know when. It doesn't give a time horizon. But the fact is that you've got $350 million a day trying to buy a very finite 450 newly produced Bitcoin every day, plus whatever else the profit takers want to take profit, right? And so you're going to have the camp, the majority of the people who are buying and holding for long term, most of the ETFs, a bunch of the pension funds come in, everything like that. There will be some people that are trading, people that are happy to take profits at a 25% profit, whatever. Some people are going to trade this thing the whole way up. Right? But the fact is that there's not going to be a whole lot of Bitcoin to buy, and you've got $350 million a day of buying pressure. It's going to move the market significantly. This is just one vertical demand. Let's not forget, we have the Hong Kong and China ETFs coming in. We've got, countries like once this thing, and then retail, they're not even here yet. Like there's no retail here, right? And we are seeing, I'm sorry to say, Peter Schiff, that all the value is flowing out of gold ETFs. No one wants to be in gold anymore. Why? Because gold it's not as finite as Bitcoin is. We know that we can always mine more gold, and it's just not as cool as Bitcoin is. And there's a bunch of other reasons too why Bitcoin is better than gold as an investment class right now. I think the most is the fact that people know that it's artificially scarce, right? We know without a shadow of a doubt, because it's written in code that cannot be changed, immutable. We know what the max supply is. So, and if you guys have been following my channel for a long time, congratulations, because in the early days the videos were shit. So thanks for sticking around. But I have made videos before where I talked about what would happen in this scenario, like maybe a year and a half ago, where Wall Street would start to be allowed to buy up Bitcoin. And then I made this whole video. I mean, actually a couple of videos on this. And I talked about like, okay, what is a total market cap of gold? 12 trillion. What is a total market cap of real estate? Something other, and then what is a total of these things? And assuming that, some percentage of all of those asset classes goes into Bitcoin, the possibilities of how large it could get really start to blow people's minds. And again, why we're in a completely different market than we were ever for crypto. This is like, it's like the 90s boom, the dot-com boom, but on steroids here. So we are likely going to, if we can close, but anyway, I believe Ansem says if we hit, if we could do if we can close above 52K on a weekly, then it's Valhalla, right? We're definitely gonna see all-time highs before the halving. I am pretty damn sure we're gonna see all-time highs before the halving, just by this trajectory alone. I mean, look at the weekly candle. Let's go back and look at this. Insane. Like, look at this weekly candles from like 47 to now it's at to 52. So, and this is just going to stop. And then once it does get back toward all-time highs, more people are going to talk about it. Retail will start coming in. They'll start buying. And the last bull markets that even pushed prices, that was all retail, right? It wasn't institutions really at all. Certainly not like it is right now. Anyway, let's get on to the altcoin part of the show. As you can see, guys, let's refresh, make sure we got the latest. It is a mixed bag, but generally things are green, right? Generally things are green. So we want to make sure that we pick the things that we think are going to be strong narratives coming into it. And some of the altcoins we're about to talk about, you've heard before, and some of them maybe I've mentioned before, but not in a long time. So let's go into those here in just a second. But I think this is going to happen sooner than later, and you guys will see. As I don't know if you did see, like I already had my bet placed on SEI from the video I made yesterday. It was up quite a bit since that video yesterday. So if you guys followed on that, congratulations. I'm going to assume that alts and Bitcoin have had their time to shine toward the end of this week with Exit Liquidity Capital says, I tend to agree. And I'm pretty sure the next 3 months is just Goldilocks window for alts to go insane as we more and more frequently see the ETH ETF as a subject and it outperforms. And you can see that. Look at ETH right now, 28.30. This is literally yearly all-time highs again today within the past 24 hours. Hit 28.70. Now just a little bit of a correction earlier, but again, it was the same trajectory. This candle just started printing as I was making this video. So, but yeah, so you can see it came up to here. Bam, got a little bit of a pullback down to 27.60. And now we're on the trajectory back up, 28.30. Things are looking positive direction here for ETH and altcoins. And you guys know I've talked about Hasaka. Whenever this guy makes a tweet about something, do not fade it. And I've been learning how to deal with Hasaka tweets where I have alerts set for his tweets, and then get an initial pump, and then it cools off for a while, and then you think that it's done and you missed it. And then like the next like 12, 24 hours later, things shoots up like another 20, 30%. So he's talking about, what is it? Paralyzed EVM, one of the biggest narratives, only one liquid accessible token to get exposure to it right now. Public DevNet has just gone live. Next round of price discovery, let it begin. And here we go. And you guys can see that when I made the video yesterday talking about SEI over here at 90 cents, it was breaking the resistance level that it had to go through to break it. And now it's gone, and now it's 96 cents. And you can see I'm up $8,000 on my trade already. Nice. Nice. So, and this thing is going, you have this $1 psychological barrier that it has to cross. It's a $1 psychological barrier. It's literally nothing else than that. This thing isn't as in price discovery. There's no existing history of any prior all-time high. Right? It's just going to go figure it out right now. Go figure it out. So might as well be along with the journey with it. Look at that. Just crushing as we're talking. So good job if you guys followed on that play yesterday. Well done. Bravo. ZetaChain. And it's like, you guys, I've been looking at these markets forever, right? Like, I mean, and so you kind of get a feel of how these narratives evolve. And this is why I bring these to you guys. And while the shows might feel the same when it comes to like title and thumbnail, these will pump next. Like literally, you have to be in this market and breathe it and eat it and sleep. And I know a lot of you guys have full-time jobs and you just can't do that. And so that's why I make these videos for you, so that you can, and now don't rely on me because nothing is here is financial advice, right? But it is supposed to give you that a little bit of guided start, where to do your own research to look at things. And of course, Zeta, since we mentioned it at the very first time, $1.20 or $1.22 or something, now at $2.70, also in price discovery right now. And it just got perpetuals on Bybit. So if you want to trade futures for it, if you want to long it, if you want to short it, go ahead and do that on Bybit. If you guys do that, make sure you use the Bybit link down in the description below. If you do, you guys get into the VVIP group where everybody in there is literally crushing it. It is an amazing group. People are so happy to be in there. Guys, if you're watching this from the group, you're amazing. I love jumping in there when I can. But it's just so nice to see everyone helping each other, making calls. And if you're new, guys, that's the best place to be. There's a lot of new people in there too. And the community in this group, we should give it a new name, right? I don't like it that it's my name. Let's let me know in the comments below if we some cool new names for the group or something. But it's our community, ours, right? And yours and mine. So yeah, to join that, all you have to do is use the affiliate link down in the description below. Sign up, and you're in the group. Bam, nothing. Doesn't cost you anything. And you could trade spot, you could trade leverage, whatever you're comfortable with. I just started trading leverage with leverage this bull run because of how powerful it can be. And it can be very, very dangerous and very risky in choppy markets or sideways markets, or if you get too cocky and aggressive. And I'm still personally learning my limits, right? And trying to learn how to navigate this. But there's a lot of great traders in there that are helping people out. And it's a very, very good community. So very, very happy that we have it. And I will continue to make sure that I do my part to add value. Sometimes, I also hear a lot of alpha, right? I've been in space where people tell me, hey, Kyle, check this thing out. It's launching. Or have you seen this thing, microcap, blah, 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 whatever, and then if something's very bullish, I'll go in there and share it in that group first. And then, because it's just the fastest thing to do. And then later we'll make a video and I'll mention it probably in a video at some point, right? So in that group is where you're always going to get the alpha first. And so another one that is really interesting to watch here is stacks. So I told you guys I was at Satoshi Roundtable, which is like, it's like the world, it's like Davos for crypto, right? And it's like, so a lot of successful people from a lot of project founders, and we discussed a lot of narratives there. And I would say the most prominent narrative at Satoshi Roundtable was definitely Bitcoin layer 2s, Bitcoin infrastructure, Bitcoin DeFi, and Stacks has been so far the market leader when it comes down to that as a layer 2. Now, like Honey says over here, that keeping an eye on it as it approaches this $2.80 mark, and as you can see, it got rejected at that 280, right? So that 280 was exactly where it got rejected. And if it can break through, but I also think that actually, we'll see. But that anyway, I haven't entered into this in a long position yet, but I'm keeping my eye on it. I think that this ecosystem is about to explode. Right now, like, ordinals, the whole ecosystem is kind of growing, right? And so we have a lot of developments, but I can tell you there's so much venture capital money, so much interest, so many influencers coming into the Bitcoin infrastructure ecosystem. It's going to melt faces. So about a year ago, there was Aptos, right? And these guys. And so Zoomer says, exactly 1 year ago, this was the main character coin. A year has passed by and barely hasn't been mentioned at all. Teams generally wait until market conditions are good until they release all their ammunition, all their news, incentives, programs. And I know this, like I talk to a lot of business development heads at different protocols. I talk to a lot of projects who are building in different protocols. And I have been hearing Aptos come up more and more. We know that Sui has had a bit of a run, and Aptos really hasn't, and it really hasn't yet, but it's starting to now. And to me, it looks like it wants to break through here, right? And it got rejected here, 1075, 1077. But if it breaks through this level, guys, you essentially have very limited support moving forward, right? So I think Aptos is something that is primed to pump as well. Now, one of the coins that we talked about was Neutron. And Neutron is, well, I will link a video. I covered it in depth in another video. So I'll link that in the description below so you can go check out and learn more about it. But it is part of this essential modular narrative. It helps with modularity with with Celestia and this kind of whole like Celestia dimension, alt layer, Neutron. And it is a shiny new coin. And even though it's pumped, you remember what I told you guys yesterday. But Kyle, it's already pumped. Yes, I know. It is probably going to pump a lot more. In the past 24 hours, this thing has pumped 16%. It is probably going to pump a lot more. Why? Because it broke through within the last 24 hours. It broke through resistance. And now is an also free floating price discovery where to go to. And it is sitting at a $515 million circulating market cap. Remember, there's, I believe, don't quote me on this, you have to go watch the video, but I believe that there's about no major unlocks for the first year or something like that. So I think this thing is going to continue to run pretty aggressively right now. And next, guys, remember, next is something that we talked about around 20 cents, I believe, 20, 21, 23 cents, something like that. And now it's almost 40 cents. And again, bam, it's approaching price discovery levels, meaning that if it just clears this 40-cent mark level here, which is almost at the verge of doing, again, clear skies, moving ahead that. So, and amazing project. You guys know that I'm quite heavy into this, into Connext. But the most has definitely been, for me, biggest spot position actually, which was crazy because was Zeta. Like I was just looking today. Zeta is now within my top, I think it's like top 6 which is nuts because it's like came out of nowhere for me. And my top 10 have 6, whatever. Historically have been like things I've been have for a while, right? But again, new season, new altcoins, new narratives. And the point here is to tell you guys about them because we want to make the most money possible. And so if you have a new shiny thing that has low circulating supply, meaning that not a lot of sell pressure, no major unlocks, and it has the attention span of people, it's probably going to do really well. And so since we've had this Bitcoin driven rally so far, and now that we know that it's rotating into ETH and it hasn't done that quite yet, but as that narrative continues to develop, ETH new yearly all-time highs, it's a big deal. We should start to see things like alts run really hard. And the tokens and coins that we just talked about today, I believe will pump the hardest moving forward. All right, guys, that's wrap it up today. I will catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.